Hello guys and gals. So I decided that it was finally time to discuss a game franchise in which I think is absolutely just the definition of forgotten. And that is the MediEvil franchise, which is a Sony franchise made by a team of individuals known as Cambridge Studio, or Sony Cambridge, something like that. Basically, I'm going to keep this short and sweet because there's a lot to go over. But if you had a PlayStation 1 back in the late 90s, basically, there's a good chance that you either had this game, you had the demo of this game, or maybe even knew someone like me who had the game. That's how I found out about it, through my cousin and someone else I used to hang out with. And for me, it was always one of those games that kind of escaped me, actually. It was an elusive game, if you will. It looked very cool to me. It looked like, almost like this Jack Skellington-esque character, basically fighting hordes of zombies and monsters, and it was just a really cool concept. But again, like I said, it escaped me, and I never really caught on to it. Fast forward to now. So, 5 or 6 months ago, basically I was getting really excited for that PlayStation All-Stars game that was coming out. And there were a lot of rumors that maybe the main character of the MediEvil series would finally show up. And again, after a while, basically not being in anything. Sure enough, it did happen, but that basically led me to go out and find these games and basically purchase them and play them and really enjoy them. The funny part is, though, I actually started on the PSP one, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Let's talk about these games, shall we? So, basically, MediEvil, it goes a little something like this. You play a tall tale teller, let's say, known as Sir Daniel Fortescue. And Sir Dan is basically told so many tales that the king appointed him the head of his army. Now what happens is that the king's army goes up against this evil magician guy named Lord Zarok. And Lord Zarok used to work for the king. But the big twist is that Zarok was doing a lot of dark magic and a lot of things with science and stuff like that, that obviously during the late 1200s is scary stuff to these people. So basically, what ends up happening is that Sir Dan's in the battle, and unfortunately Sir Dan gets taken out rather quickly, and they make an ongoing joke about this throughout the game, and I'll get to that in a little bit as well. But I'm hearing somebody's dog while I'm filming this, and it's like annoying me. Sorry. But anyways, so basically what happens is like you wake up 100 years later, so 1300s, and you find out that Lord Zarok has returned, and he's bringing back everybody from the dead to take over. And basically, in doing so, he brought you back. Now, they never actually really explain the whole concept behind why Sir Dan comes back unscathed, so to speak, but the whole point of the game is that you finally get to redeem yourself in the life after death, and he is like this accidental hero, if you will, because yes, he's got these moments where he's heroic because he has to be, and he's a soldier of sorts, but also because he's also this very clumsy, scaredy cat-esque character, and that's what's so amazing about these games is these guys are from, obviously over in England, and they just have this amazing sense of humor that it's captured so in this game. So for a game that came out in 1998, though, this game has some incredible cutscenes. Even though obviously they're not going to showcase the level of detail on a game now, they are astounding. Like, I don't know how these guys even made some of this stuff. And it's interesting because this game, came out, shortly after the whole big Crash Bandicoot blowout. And this is really kind of like Sony's... See, Crash is more like what? He's like the platforming kind of character. This was like Sony's adventure character, like, think almost like their original kind of like gosh, like a Kratos or a Nathan Drake, I suppose. You know, he is the original guy. So to me, I always think that this character is super important. So yeah, basically this game is you going through about like 21 zones, something like that, and you're fighting zombies, pumpkin monsters, demons. You think of it, it's probably in the game. And you basically have to kill things to fill a chalice. And once you 100% the chalice with all these souls that you've taken from these things you've killed, you have to find the chalice in the stage, which presents you with a Hall of Heroes trip. Now, at the end of every stage, whether it's a stage or a boss battle or whatever the hell it's going to be to finish the thing off, if you get the chalice filled, basically, like I said, you go to the Hall of Heroes. I have to backtrack a little there, sorry. Basically, the Hall of Heroes is essentially where every hero that fell in battle or whatever that most likely is encountered with Sir Dan in some way is there. You know, it's kind of like their afterlife, their heaven or whatever. And the whole joke is that Sir Dan, since he completely failed, they're constantly making fun of him, and they offer him a new weapon or a new power-up or whatever it's going to be each and every time you collect the full-out chalice. So it's a brilliant concept, because by the end of the game you have, like, not even joking, like 25 different weapons at least, 20 maybe, give or take. There's a lot. And, you know, it's everything ranging from the swords, the shields, you know, a bow, to even like lightning magic and all kinds of cool stuff like that. So it's a really interesting game. And this game is basically like a hybrid of like Zelda games mixed with a lot of Ghosts and Goblins. So while it's an easy in nature game, because I mean the first one's definitely not that terrible, there are some parts where you're just like, oh, and you know, considering it's an old game, you know, there's obviously going to be some detection stuff going on, camera issues. But it's just an amazingly enjoyable game. I keep thinking like hearing a dog or something. It is just awesome. So, that being said, we're going to go on to... Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention this before I forget. The only way that they can defeat Lord Zarok, and I can't believe I forgot to say this, is they have to collect the 4 pieces of this thing called the Anubis Stone. And there's a big thing at the end of the game where it's kind of like a whole... I don't know if it's a twist, but it's just the way that the villain's going to take over, and it's awesome. It's completely not a MediEvil themed kind of thing at the last bit of the game, which is great. So I'm just going to let everybody know that, and yeah, great game. Then we're on to MediEvil 2, which came out around April of 2000. This one I notice is kind of a mixed bag, because it's a great franchise. It's great everything. A lot of people say that the storytelling's better, the characters are better in this. There's a lot of things. This game doesn't really go with the medieval roots. This goes to like I want to say the 1800s, and Sir Dan wakes up in a museum and finds out somebody took Lord Zarok's book. And basically, you find out it's this guy named Lord Palethorn who basically turned himself into a big, like, cigar-smoking demon. I don't know, I guess he started as a human. But you meet this guy named Professor Hamilton, and he's living under this museum, and he basically helps you. And instead of going on a map like you did in the first game, you're on a film reel. And it's a little bizarre, but it's cool. The thing about this game is, like I said, it's not very medieval-centric at times, so it's scattered everywhere. There's a lot of time things going on. You even at one point get a Gatling gun, which is pretty cool. To me, I have a controversial opinion on it, because I don't hate the game, but it is absolutely just... It's very difficult. Like, it's so difficult at times. There's not a lot of checkpoints. There's not a lot of health pools where Sir Dan, I should have mentioned that, does get his health from. It's just a lot more of a unnecessarily grueling game. And to me, Lord Palethorn doesn't really shine as much as Lord Zarok did. There's not even that many scenes with Palethorn, and when there are scenes with them, he's very hard to hear and stuff. They introduced this character named Kia, who's basically like Sir Dan's love interest, and she's like this mummy chick. And it's a cute little idea in theory, but it's just kind of like it's there, you know? And the thing about Sir Daniel Fortescue that's amazing is that he's missing a lower half of his jaw. So and obviously the eye, he's not able to talk, so he mumbles, which is a huge thing to the character, which adds so much humor when you read the captions of what he's saying and you see how he's expressing himself. Well, in this, he talks like this, and I'm sorry, but it just drives me nuts. I think it was cool that they thought, okay, maybe we should give this guy a voice, but it just took away so much of the charm, to me, of the character. They also obviously added more polygons and all that stuff, so Sir Dan's a little different looking. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it's actually a really cool remodel. I prefer the more elongated, more abstract looking artsy Dan, the traditional one, but it's pretty cool. I can't even complain, really. It does look really badass. I think for me, the biggest shining things of this entire game are the new forms they introduced. Dan Hand, which is where Dan takes his head and puts it on a hand, and you do puzzles. You solve puzzles as the hand. It's tricky, but you're also solving puzzles as Dan's, like hitting switches and stuff. And it's awesome. It's probably, in my opinion, some of the best parts of the game. The other thing is Dan Kirstein, which is a part of the game where Professor Hamilton's trying to collect body parts of demons and monsters or whatever it is, and basically screws up something with the head, so Dan puts his head on, which results in a boxing match as a giant monster with Dan's head on it. It's hysterical. It took me a little bit to get, actually, but I figured it out and it wasn't that bad once you figure it out. It's tricky at first, especially considering it's an older game. But yeah, this game also has 17 zones. Again, much more themed towards the later years and stuff like that. To me, it's just like there is such a huge gap between these two games that I feel like there could have been something in between that. And that's kind of my gripe with it, is I wanted more MediEvil. I wanted more. To me, I don't know why, but the characters, they're cool, but they're not, to me, as memorable as like some of the stuff in the first game, especially when you talk to the king in this one. It's hysterical. But yeah, so a lot of awesome, cool stuff, which leads me to this. MediEvil Resurrection, which is actually secretly the first MediEvil game I ever played. Now, this one gets the most flack because it is from 2005. It is pretty much a remake of the first game. And people are pretty pissed because they didn't change much about it. And when they did change stuff, it was stuff that people liked. For instance, they added a shop to this one to make it a little easier. Obviously, much more cutscenes, much more animations and stuff. I actually wrote this down so I could keep up with this because there's a lot. They added, they cut 5 levels. They added a pirate level, which to me, I'm sorry, I love it, because you have to get past this. You have to basically kind of steal a ship practically, and you have to dress up Dan in a pirate outfit, and it's hysterical. It's actually one of my favorite stages in the game. It's just fun to kill the undead pirate dudes. It's hysterical. There's no, I didn't want to spoil it in the first game, there's no big crazy twist part of the stage at the end. It only makes sense if you played the first game. And there's, I believe there is only 16 zones in this game. So, here's the thing though. Like I said, this was Sony's attempt to get PS1 gamers, old school Sony gamers, back on board with their PSP handheld. And, Cambridge did pretty much all these. I'm sure people probably left by then when they made this. I really don't think this is that bad of a game. Look, you know what? I'd rather have a remake, even if it's a meh kind of game to people, than nothing at all. It is what it is. I think the fact that they didn't change much, even with the animations of him attacking, to me, I think that's fine, because I'd much rather it stay the same. And yeah, it's still got a little bit of camera problems, still got a few problems with hit detections and stuff like that, but you know what, this game, I think it did a pretty damn good job, honestly, and it got me involved with this whole franchise. Here's the thing. Like I was saying, this game came out in 2005. Sir Dan's finally showing up again in the PlayStation All-Stars game, which came out this year, 2012. Sony, could we get started on a MediEvil 3, please? Listen, I get it. You know what, maybe it's not super successful, but, considering I think I heard this game sold 400,000 maybe in Europe, I don't know, pretty good amount. And they still have a huge cult following, and I think Sirdan was one of the most popular characters you added to that All-Stars game, and that you kind of need to fill this void where you have this, maybe you have almost like a comedic type character again, or I guess an adventurer that's not decked out in blood or something, or a gun. I think that Sir Daniel Fortescue and MediEvil and that whole universe just fits so well, and I think right now this generation needs a game like that, and I think that this is the time for them to bring it back. So yeah, with that being said, this is the MediEvil franchise. I highly recommend you guys check them out. This game, the PSP one's like $7 or $8. These two range in the 20-25 area, even for very good copies. Great games. You need to check them out. If you're definitely a collector, get them. If you're a fan of old games, PS1 games, or badass skeleton warriors with comedic values, killing hordes of monsters and saving the world and stuff, this is your game. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and enjoy, guys. Peace out.